Hello everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker. I'm going to talk about a very difficult time I went through. First, I'll just give a little update on what I've been doing. Lots of screenwriting, lots of screaming in my neighborhood. I don't know what's going on. I've come up against a new obstacle in my screenplay. Every once in a while, every few weeks or days really, it seems like, I hit a barrier where I'm like, this is very painful. I know I'm coming up against something, like I have to solve some problem in my story of how I'm gonna unify everything and make it powerful and compelling. As compelling it is to me, to somebody else. I notice my hair is a little split like a butt head from my helmet for my bike. And I have to, push myself to go beyond what I'm comfortable doing in order to solve this problem. But I also realize that's really good, because if I don't encounter that pain, first of all, it means I'm not recognizing what the problem is in my screenplay. But second of all, when I'm going through that pain, that means I'm progressing, presumably. And I was talking about my writing to someone, and I realized the way I'm talking about it is different than how I would talk about it before. I had a very clear process for how I was doing it, and I wasn't nearly as lost or murky on like a million different paths and dead starts or wrong starts and dead ends to my screenplay. And I've been losing weight, maybe almost a little too quickly, riding my bike, barely eating. I did have some type of curry with coconut milk and potatoes. It was really good, and chicken and roti, which, by the way, this restaurant, they've given this roti, which is called, it's called roti, but it's like a bread, basically. Well, this time it was like flaky, almost like, what am I thinking of? A croissant. It was like flaky like that, like triangles. Before, it was like it was more doughy and syrupy. I preferred the doughy version, but I'll take the crispy version too. So that was my one treat for the week. It wasn't even a big meal, although I did have a lot of that curry with the coconut milk that everything was covered in. That was quite good. But anyways, been working a lot. I'm trying to figure out how to maximize my time during the day. I get up at 3:45, I exercise, I eat, I ride my bike to work. But I'm at work by 6:30 a.m. So I'm like, is there any way to reduce that time in the morning? And I don't even spend a ton of time exercising lately. Sometimes it's been 20 or 30 minutes because I try and get, I do reps to the point of absolute failure, and even then go beyond what I think I can do, and just get the most out of a limited amount of time. And I do usually some more sets in the afternoon. I usually at least do push-ups in addition to my bike ride, maybe some bicep curls. My shoulders are still hurting from the shoulder impingement. They're getting better, but it's taking a lot of time. It's really annoying. I can't do burpees yet, because if I do burpees, it's gonna re-aggravate my shoulder impingement. Oh, the tension's on. This car's backing up. Is it gonna hit this other car? Is it gonna hit it? Oh my goodness, it's so scary watching it. I know they're probably gonna stop. It must be like watching me back up a car. It's still so scary watching it every time. One time someone did hit me like that while I was trying to take a nap. Dumbass. And then he went and played his soccer game. But I want to talk about, I got to thinking about this. Part of what I'm doing in my screenplay is exploring stuff that I've been through, because it's informed. It's not going to be copied from it. It's not a biographical film. It's not like, what was it called with, what's his name? The guy and his wife, they made it, The Big Sick, right? Kumail something. And his wife, I can't remember his wife's name, but they played themselves, right? I didn't see the movie, but people loved it. It's not like that. By the way, I wouldn't even trust myself to write something that close to my life and make it good. So it's just informed by things I've experienced, and, what it's like to feel low and feel, like my life doesn't matter, nothing matters, I'm overlooked. And I got to thinking just today, and I was like, I got to do, part of writing this movie is telling this stuff, because I'm almost like, well, I'm a hypocrite. If this character is going to have to behave a certain way and overcome stuff he's going through and being honest, I have to too, even though I've told this story many times, but I'll just make a separate video for it. for a month in the end of 2012. Yeah, maybe it was getting into 2013, but I know it was at the end of 2012. I was in a mental hospital, and getting out, I didn't sleep more than 45 minutes a night for a month. If you're wondering what that's like, it's every bit as horrible as it sounds. It is absolutely horrible. I'm going to turn on another light now. Okay, that made no difference. Just a floor lamp. My depersonalization-derealization disorder had just like gone into a relapse on me in August of 2012. The scary part, the really scary part, first of all, I was very, very scared because it was incredibly painful. Once it happened, I knew, and it came on in the form of an anxiety attack. I was in a hotel, enjoying my life. I was doing videography for a fashion agency, and like I said, enjoying my life, just barely sort of starting my adult life at 26. Or no, wait, I was 27 by that point. And I felt it coming on, this shaking almost, and then this anxiety attack, not a panic attack, anxiety attack. And literally, by the way, it was like I heard blaring in my own head Lady Gaga's Bad Romance, like blaring in my head when it happened. And I thought, oh no, it's happening again. I've had one relapse before, and then the first initial incident, which was started with a full-on panic attack. It was absolutely terrifying. I felt like I was being ripped out of my body by God. I was in church. I felt like my skin turned gray. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to smash my glasses on the ground. Back then, I was very different. I was a churchgoer. And I was completely lost, by the way, when I was started at 17, just living this fake life that was prescribed to me by those brutal, stupid, stupefied sadists in the Catholic Church. Can't say enough bad things about them. I don't recommend them at all. In 2012, I felt it progressing. Like I was desperately trying to hold myself together to finish this videography job. I'm like, holy crap, how am I going to finish this work? I'm going out of my mind with pain. And the problem with the depersonalization-derealization disorder, it stops me from emotionally, like being able to sense emotions and feel emotions, stops me from being able to process reality. I get extremely intrusive, racing, compulsive thoughts, like mainly religious delusions, and delusions that like I have to save the world and stuff. And it's absolutely horrifying, and I have like no desires. I feel like I'm nothing, like I'm being ground up and destroyed. And it's like a horrifying drug trip that lasted for 9 months in that particular time. And then it was another year before I could even sleep a full night. I was sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night for a year. I don't know how I got through that. It was so depressing. It was painful. It was awful. And I was just depressed. And I was like, in the whole year, not just that year, for many years, until I discovered what DPDR was. And even then I wasn't sure for a while if that's what I had. I was like, what was that? Why did I go through that? I thought for sure I will die like this. I will never get better. I'll just grow old. All right, we get it. Coming down my street. And I was sure I'll just grow old, my body will go to waste, I'll watch the people around me die, someone will have to take care of me, and I'll just die a pathetic death. Even as I talk about it now, I can conjure up those feelings, or those feelings are conjured up in me, of that pain and desperation. It felt like being trapped in like a metal, it reminded me of seeing the metal, like the sort of metal cylinder in a projection booth. I used to work in a movie theater, and I used to work in the projection booth just towards the end of my time there. There's a metal cylinder with little, like almost like pegs of metal sticking out the end, like tiny little spokes, like nubs, that the film, the sprockets, go onto. It felt like those were grinding down on me. Like, it was so excruciating. I was having the first month I was starting to have like nightmares that like everybody I knew in grade school, all my classmates had gathered at this park near my house to say goodbye to me because they knew I was leaving because I was going insane. And I was going to this was going to progress and I'd lose my insanity. That's what I want. That was the goal. Anyway, short of it is, I was in delirious amounts of pain. I had to quit being a filmmaker. After a month, I couldn't drive anymore. It's amazing how I can feel that pain in my chest, even now. I'm still not totally free of DPDR. I'm way better, obviously, way better. But it's still... it got a grip on me, or grip in me, or it's still weaved into my DNA. Even though it is curable, supposedly. I mean, other people have been cured of it. It's not like it's not embedded in your DNA in reality. It's a dissociative disorder that people are able to get cured of. I'm better, but like it's always got something. I can feel symptoms sometimes. I'm just way better at managing them. One thing that sucks about the pandemic is being around people helps to get better because I can talk and interact and sort of feel in my own body, and the depersonalization is feeling disconnected from my body, derealization, feeling disconnected from reality, and isolation makes it worse. Isolation can be very important. I need to be by myself sometimes. So I was in horrifying, delirious amounts of pain, just like waiting to die, basically. You know, threatened to just end things with myself. Somebody notified the police, and the police came, put me in an ambulance, sent me to a mental hospital, where they treated me great. The staff were super nice. I only remember one lady was like kind of rude one night, like she didn't want to be there, it seemed, or she didn't want to talk. But everybody there was super nice. Like they even said, you know, you have to be in your room sleeping by a certain time. Nobody enforced that with me, which was good because I couldn't sleep. Like as the nights went on, I got less and less sleep, and I had to compulsively pace more and more. So now it's amazing how that feeling of that tenseness is in me now. As I can talk about it, I can recall it. But instead of fearing that feeling now, it's like I'm grateful for it. I'm like, it's just bring it on, because it's like working its way out of me. I'm flushing it out of me. That's the good thing about DPDR. It's not permanent. It's not necessarily permanent. Supposedly you can't overcome it. Just for me, it's like the hardest to overcome that I've ever heard of. Because other people, they're like cured within weeks or a month, or some jackass on this DPDR support forum said there's no excuse for not being over it in a month with this program that they have. I'm like, I went through the program, I paid for it. Like, it's like saying to someone, if you eat well, you're gonna heal your broken arm in a month. You know, it was ridiculous. Because it was beyond just, oh, I'm not well. It's like I was disabled. I couldn't drive because my senses were so bad. I knew I couldn't control whether I crashed the car, and for some reason I had this horrible compulsion where I knew I would not be able to hit the brakes at red lights. And I actually was driving home 40 miles and I had to stop and pull over. I was like, keep my foot on the brake, keep my foot on the brake, please, why won't this red light stop? Like, it was picture just somebody like high out of their mind on drugs. That was like me, only I wasn't doing drugs. And I had to pull over and call someone to pick me up, drive my car with me in it home, and then leave their car there, and someone else would go and pick up their car or pick them up from my parents' house, which is where I was living, and then go get their car back. It was really, really bad. Like I said, I can feel that pain, that intensity in my chest, along with horrifying, terrifying delusions that God wanted to end all my desires, was trying to purify me of them so I could just take the role He wanted and just be with God. So I was in the mental hospital for 4 or 5 days. The being trapped inside was just horrible. It was torture. It really was torturous, even though I was not trapped in a room, but I was trapped in a wing where I wasn't allowed outside. They did allow me outside once or twice for like 30 minutes, but then they said, yeah, we're actually not supposed to, so sorry, we can't let you. And I remember saying, like, it's just real, like, I was like talking really clearly, but I'm like, it just really like wears on me psychologically not to be able to go outside, because it's what I was like. I was just like, I was in such pain. It amazes me now talking about how I can feel it. Sorry to repeat myself 8 times. I started taking risperidone in the hospital. They gave me that powerful antipsychotic. Turns out I probably didn't need antipsychotics if it was DPDR. But they didn't know what, they'd give me diagnosis of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, neither of which I think are accurate. I'm sure they weren't accurate. They aren't accurate. But I started getting that compulsive pacing, which is apparently called akathisia, I think. And risperidone can cause it. I don't know if that's actually what it did, or if it was some interplay with risperidone and the compulsivity I had in me from this disorder. But well, some electric lamp in the street is buzzing. But by the time I got out of the mental hospital, my heart was racing like crazy. For the next 24 hours, I couldn't sleep. My heart was racing so bad. I was absolutely exhausted, and I was traumatized by being locked into the halls there. Not only that, but it was so scary. It was disturbing, and it imprinted itself on me. The people screaming all hours a day. The worst, really, the most disturbing and putrefying part of it to this day was the one guy I met in there was like the most racist person I've ever met. He was this guy, he was this asshole who lived somewhere, I don't remember exactly, but he made it sound like he lived in some kind of townhouse complex somewhere in like the suburbs of Northern Virginia, which is where this hospital was. And his neighbor didn't like him smoking on his porch or something, so she complained, and then, of course, only an asshole racist would say this, and he got in a fight with her or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he ended up getting charged with assault, I think. It was something like that, some version of that. I don't know exactly, but short of it is he was awaiting court, and in the meantime, he was in the mental hospital awaiting court, and he really did not like talking to anyone. He was abusive to the staff. He one of the most horrifying, and the other horrifying thing about this disorder is it made me so like unable to defend myself and speak up for myself, because I had like no desires, no ability, anything. I wanted to, but I couldn't. It was just so like putting a cheese grater soaked in like acid on my face and scraping my face off. He would make fun of the accent of this woman who worked there. I don't even like to repeat the phrase he said. He didn't say a racial slur, but she would make certain announcements throughout the day, like certain times a day. You know, it was time to eat, time if you wanted to go to a meeting, whatever. And he would just go like almost follow around, like he was so mad at her accent, and he would make fun of her accent and repeat it. But the funny thing was, he talked about, somehow he mentioned that story about him smoking and his neighbor complaining to him, and he's like, man, these liberals, you know, just these liberals ruining everything. And I'm like, oh, this asshole conservative. And even then, I had a lot of latent conservative feelings, but he was such an asshole. I really hated him. He's such a scumbag. And anyway, so getting to the point where I got out, couldn't sleep for 24 hours. It was horrifying because I wanted to sleep and I'd like nod off standing up, but my heart was racing so fast I'd wake up again. I couldn't sleep, and I was literally scared I was going to die because my heart wouldn't slow down. So I asked my dad to bring me to the to the emergency room. I was scared of even being in the car with my dad because he wasn't a great driver, and he was pretty old by then. He was like 80 or so. But he brought me to the emergency room. I told him my heart was racing since I got out of the mental hospital, and I was like, and I don't need to go back. And she was like, okay. Like, they weren't going to take me back. They gave me an injection of Ativan. As I remember, my memory's real hazy too of a lot of the details of this stuff, because that's what it's like to have DPDR. It's just like big parts of my memory are not great. But I know they gave me an injection of Ativan, and also I was so out of my mind, like I wasn't clear on what was happening at the time. My heart instantly slowed down. Thank goodness. I felt relief that like the instant. They said my heart was beating at 120 beats per minute. So that means it was doing about that for 24 hours. And I'm still in delirious amounts of pain, feeling horrific compulsions, like my body is being yanked to just constantly like destroy my identity to be with God. So it's like I was going to church by this point, or if not by the, yeah, I think before and after the mental hospital. And which, can you imagine, like I was an atheist really, but I was trying to make myself believe this stuff. I was reading Bart Ehrman's Jesus Forged or something, or Christianity Forged, or misquoting Jesus, that's what it was, in the mental hospital. And I'm like, you know, no matter, I would talk to priests and preachers after church, and I was like, you know, how can you believe this stuff? And I was like, how can I believe it? And yet it was, I had this compulsion that was like I had to somehow participate in it. And yet I was in excruciating pain in church. And I have altocellulophobia, which makes me afraid of high ceilings, which was also bad because those asshole church architects build churches with high ceilings, which good, by the way. Even one more reason for me not to go to church. I should have had a doctor's note saying I can't go to church when I was a kid. It's so great. That would be so great. That's the ultimate get on those teachers who teach these lies. And I was compulsively pacing by this point. I could barely eat. I could barely swallow food. My mom was getting mad at me for not eating. And I would literally pace uncontrollably for 23 hours a day, almost like I was trying to get out of my own body. And even though I was absolutely exhausted, I couldn't sleep, because the moment I tried to sit down or lie down, I was like, I have to get up and pace. Again, I can recall those feelings. But not only pace, first of all, I forgot what it was like to be a person. I would look out the window at people driving and I'd be like, what are they doing? Like, how are they doing that? How are they able to drive? I would not only pace so hard and stomp my feet on the ground if I had to sit still, like, I was terrified of being by myself, terrified of showering, not being clean, which I did every day, or almost every day, but terrified of like being by myself in the bathroom. It was horrifying, even though normally I loved that. I love being in the bathroom. I loved it today. I took a huge dump. I don't love it anymore, actually. It's not the same. It's not as much fun. It's just I want to get it over with. But for a month, 45 minutes a night, one particular night, I remember I didn't sleep at all. Couldn't sleep. Probably a lot of nights it was more like 15 or 30 minutes. But I was just pacing uncontrollably, and in this like compulsion to like get out of my body, I was like flopping my upper body up and down like this, like one of those birds with mercury in them that dip down, or just like a bird dipping. I was like, picture me pacing back and forth and going, like flopping my whole upper body as far low as I can to almost like rid me of this pain. It's amazing how I feel it now, that tenseness. I got to do some deep breathing after this and relax and sort of chill out, do some writing, do some journaling. Journaling's a good writing exercise that I do before I get into my actual writing. And after a month, I'm trying to think, how did it end exactly? I think what happened, I would go to these priests and preachers and stuff and meet them and pray with them a little, and which it's just talking to yourself, but hoping for some relief. But somehow I think the ritual of that, of desperately reaching out for help. One of these priests, by the way, even he was losing patience with me. He wanted to kick me out of his office. He's like, Angelo, this conversation's over. Like, it's just going in circles. And I said, well, we could talk about something else. Like, what movies do you like? And he's like, I like The Fugitive. He's like, nothing with too much blood and guts, though. But it kind of opened my eyes. It pulled back the curtain of this mystique that they gave us about priests when they were younger, and also a lot of learning about the news pulled that back when you realize a lot of these guys are really messed up to want to be in that life. That's on top of the horrific stuff. I can't talk about it because it's too disturbing. But yeah, real, like, just to want to be in that life, you're kind of screwed up. On some level, it may not be screwed up on the worst level, but it's weird. It's like anti-human to me. But whatever, some people are going to be like that. But it pulled back the mystique on like, oh, these guys have such deep knowledge, they're trained and stuff. It's like, these guys are just regular people who put their pants on like everybody else. They didn't know anything that I didn't know. You know, I was hoping for some answers from them. I ended up realizing they know even less than I do on some things. One priest, he was like, well, Angelo, well, he called me Alonzo or something. He like got my name wrong. He's like, you just have to be positive, even if you have to get a job at McDonald's or something. I'm like, wow, real profound advice. But I don't blame him for that advice. I blame him for, you know, supporting this religion and being a priest. But whatever. It probably, for persons like that, just let them be on their own. Anyway, so somehow I think what happened, I know I had some moment where it's like a lot of energy just purged out of me, and I think it was sort of like ritualistic, like it was through the process of like praying with a priest or something that I finally like bumped down my energy a notch to where I could manage to sleep somehow a few hours even though I was in delirious pain. And it was a full 9 months before I was able to function again, to drive, to talk to people. I didn't know if I'd be able to hold a conversation, like a normal conversation at first, to work with people. It was a hell of a thing, recovering. And then afterwards, it's not even like I was relieved. I was like, well, I just lost being 27. I don't know what that's like. Like, it was just insane. And, you know, I can look back now, and as excruciating as it was, I can be grateful for it, because it's like, well, not many people get to experience that, and I managed to come through them healthy. Okay, I thought I had brain damage. Like, I didn't know what was wrong with me. Why am I taking this Canadian accent all of a sudden? Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Or who does that sound like? That sounds like a character from Strong Bad. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm Coach Z. But it was another, by that point, I think it was around January. Yeah, I do know it was, I believe, early January when I finally was able to sleep. And then I was still in so much pain. I could only sleep from like 4 in the afternoon to like, what the hell time was it? Like 6 in the morning to like 4 in the afternoon. So still very painful, still thinking that's it, my life's over. And then coming out of it and being like, what happened? Okay, like what was that? And just struggling to feel my emotions again, which the next 5.5 years, it was a struggle, or 5 years or so, until the next time I relapsed. It was a struggle to be able to feel my emotions, feel inside my own body, and to not dissociate horribly. And the bad thing is I would dissociate horribly when I had good experiences, when I was around a woman I liked, there weren't that many good experiences, but when I did have them, I dissociated. Now it's much, much better. Writing has been a huge component of getting better, because I feel like I can, and also just understanding of, literally, for me, everyone, you know, it's different, but for me, a good thing that helped me is like learning about astrophysics, learning about reality, learning why there's no reason to worry there's a God or there's hell or anything. Learning about the, screenwriting and how much it can impact my life, and how much movies impact my life, and they can impact me more and more deeply. I used to think, well, everything you feel more strongly when you're young, and when you get older, your feelings fade. But I realized certain things fade, but as I get older, movies change me. And whereas I was younger, they definitely changed me, but I didn't know it. I felt everything more superficially, so I just thought they're entertainment, basically. And then even when I wanted to make them, I thought, well, this is fun, but I don't know what else it is. I was very not able to feel a lot of things because of the utter stupidities of the Catholic Church, that the schools I was sent to. Although I was Greek Orthodox growing up, so that was kind of fun, like legit fun. Like I didn't have to participate in certain things in school because I wasn't Catholic. So that was nice. It wasn't like I felt ostracized or anything. I didn't care. I was glad. But basically it was like being in the Catholic Church, even though I could never say I was one. I was Greek Orthodox, but when you got down to it, like I didn't even really know how to explain any of these religions. I just thought I had to go along with them, and these are what's right and these are what's wrong. And when real life started approaching myself, and I started having problems with other people and learning about, oh, they like, you know, to have any kind of future, you have to interact with people and be able to find. I was really isolated from people. realizing just all this stuff just crashed into each other, and it was a horrible many years trying to learn how to feel emotions, how to connect with people. Really put me behind on learning a lot of things, just about dealing with people, and you know, nothing terribly dramatic. Like, it wouldn't make for an interesting movie. For the most part, it just meant I kept to myself. That's it. Like, it didn't mean much. I remember when I was 19, I asked this girl out, and you know, I didn't know I'd be able to ask her out. I thought I couldn't feel anything. I didn't know I could like a girl. And asked her out, and then you know, we went out once, and it wasn't great. She actually walked out in the movie we were in Sideways, which I didn't realize what a bullet dodge that was. And I left with her, and you know, I was like, what, is something wrong? I think she had a boyfriend, and yeah, no, she told me that later. I think she just wanted to just see what it's like to go out with another guy, but I had no idea about any of this stuff. And somebody told me, this other girl in class told me, like, well, maybe she just went out with you as friends. I'm like, what? People do that? And I was like, I turned to this other girl I didn't even know. I was like, did you hear about this? She's like, yeah, I go out with my guy friends to movies, and like, I have a boyfriend or something. I was like, huh? Really? I didn't know. I thought that was against the rules. I didn't know that. So I didn't know anything. So it was just like learning about what people do. I'm like, huh, that's surprising. And there are many other things I didn't know. All the church seriously really screwed me up. The Catholic Church really they should be sued out of existence for what they did to me, and among other reasons. Just terrible people teaching terrible nonsense, teaching lies. So of course you'd figure it doesn't work. Thank goodness I'm an atheist. My life is so much better for it. It's so much better learning that the universe itself is stupefying and astounding in a good way, even though it can be astoundingly cruel. Sometimes I have these weird existential fears, like, how do I know the universe is going to keep holding together? How do I know the Earth won't collide into some foreign object that will destroy us all or something? I was having those the last few weeks. But I'm like, well, I'll get over this. And I've been getting over it, because you can't think about that all the time. But that's the grandiosity, or whatever, the compulsive thinking of me. It's like, I have to fix everything. I have to solve everything. How do we know, you know, how do I stop the heat death of the universe so all life and all matter won't cease existence? Not all matter. There'll still be, what, some type of particles in a few billion years? But anyways, that's so much more interesting and satisfying to me to know, even though for years it was not, but I couldn't really comprehend it. I can't say I ever really comprehend, but I mean, it's so much more comprehensible now. Yeah. And the Catholic Church is just reprehensible. Anyways, that was the story. It was exhausting to tell, of me sleeping for 45 minutes a night or less for a month. And shit. So thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.